enthusiasts. You're tuning in to Browducation with Megs, the podcast where we unravel the secrets of perfect eyebrows. I'm your host, Megs, and in each episode we explore everything from grooming hacks to the latest trends in brow fashion. Get ready to shape your brows and your confidence. Let's dive in. Welcome to Browducation with your host, Megs. This is episode 9 of season 1, and I'm so happy you're here. We're going to be talking about lamination. I've been really excited about this episode, and there's a lot we have to talk about. And I am just super ready to get into it with you. I have these show notes, so if you see me glancing down, that's what we're checking out, because I want to make sure that I get the good stuff and I don't want to forget anything. And yeah. So, overview, what we're going to kind of cover. We're going to cover what the treatment is. What even is lamination? And we want to know the details. So that's where we're going to start. And then we're going to get into the science, because I think it's truly important. And if you know me or follow me at all, you know I talk about the science and how important all of that and truly understanding it really is. We're going to talk ideal candidates for lamination. Who is going to benefit from this service? Who should you be recommending this service to, etc. We're going to talk about aftercare, because if you're offering the service and you're not offering proper aftercare, I'm coming for you. Okay. I see you. We're going to talk about my manual, brands that I like and don't like, and then my must-haves, what I cannot live without and I have to have, no matter what person, client, whatever is walking through the door, I can't laminate without it. So let's get into it. What is lamination? Well, if you're a pro, you've heard of it because it took the world by storm. It is such a popular service, and I am obsessed with it. And I was one of or the first person to offer it in my town locally, and I never looked back. I absolutely love it. I feel like it really kicked my business into over gear. I think it also was a catalyst to quitting facials once and for all. Having because I feel like it's a similar ticket price, so it was a easier pill to swallow to let go of that. You just see the dollar sign income and you don't know where you're going. So to have an alternate treatment that plugs in and it's something I'm obsessed with is going to work, then we're doing it. So the treatment itself is a 3-part system. We're going to start with a lifting treatment. So what the first step in any of the brand systems, whatever you want to call it, is going to be your laminate part. So this is what's going to be doing the lifting. This is what's going to be causing the deep chemical change within the hair structure. It is, oh my gosh. And I just refuse to try to say this word. Look it up. I'll put it in the show notes with a little asterisk. But TGA is what we're going to call it. It's like thioglycolic acid. Am I saying that right for the first time? I don't think I am. So TGA, we'll correct it in the notes. So I'm sorry, I apologize. Is going to be that, or histamine are going to be in your first step. Those are what are going to enter the hair shaft. They're going to break down those bonds and allow for us to reshape and restyle those hairs. Straighten, relax, reposition, whatever you want to call it. That's what's happening during step 1. Step 2 is going to be our neutralizer. So 9 times out of 10, your neutralizer is going to be have an ingredient of hydrogen peroxide. So that's going to neutralize. So step 1 is very alkaline, high alkalinity. TGA tends to be a higher alkalinity. Histamine tends to be a little bit lower. But no matter what, they're a higher alkaline alkalinity on the higher high up in the alkalinity on the pH scale. My God, I don't know why that was so difficult to get out. If you have been listening to the podcast, you know this is a common thing. I think it's just because I have ADHD. My brain moves a little bit quicker than I can get out, and sometimes this is how it plays out. But your girl knows her stuff. She's just moving too quickly. So TGA is a higher alkalinity on the pH scale. Cysteamine falls a little bit lower, but still on the alkalinity side. Your hydrogen peroxide neutralizer is going to obviously be on the lower, more acidic side, and it's going to help to bring that alkalinity down and get you more to a neutral zone, meaning that step 1 is neutralized with step 2. So kind of either side of the pH scale to bring them back down to neutral, which is where we want our hair and skin to live. Slight acidity is okay, as we know that is our skin's happy place. And alkalinity brings dehydration. So that's where all of the aftercare stuff comes in, which we'll talk about in just a minute. And the third step is truly important. It sounds like a third and last and not important, but it's very important. And that is our hydration step. This hydration step can look a little bit different depending on the brand or system that you're using, but most of them are an oily or cream type product designed to help rehydrate those brow hairs that have just gone through a chemical process. As we know, we break those bonds down and then we rebuild them with our neutralizing step. And since we're doing all that chemical change and man-made bond building, we want to make sure that we make it very nice and sturdy and healthy. And we do that with the hydration step, step 3. Now, there are optional steps that you can add in, such as a Botox or a vitamin treatment. There's a lot of lines that offer it, and I think most lines are, you can use that step with other lines. Since it's not part of the 3-step system, it's a little bit different. Honestly, I would say step 3 could also be changed. Like, I know that Inlay has step 3 has like a nut. I can't remember. I think I want to say almond nut extract in it. And as we know, there's definitely people that have nut allergies and they can have reactions. So, if you were to need to like swap that out for something that didn't have that ingredient in it, you could totally do so without it affecting. We just want to make sure that we're rehydrating. So I would say never use a step 1 from one system and then a step 2 from another system. That's not going to work properly. That's not what it's designed to do. But if you were in a bind or you run into an allergy issue, you could use a step 3 that differs from the system. I would be cautious, of course, but most of the time, in my experience, I don't see that I could run into any issues, and I've used a pretty good amount of lamination systems. So, same with the vitamin goes. Same goes with the vitamin. Like, I love, my lamination has a vitamin treatment, and I love, love, love using that, when I want to do like a Lux add-on, or if the client's brows are getting treated regularly and I'm just concerned maybe about their health and want to do like a little extra during that treatment. I'll throw that in. I also use it during my lamination maintenance appointments, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. So yeah, those ones can be used a little bit differently, and kind of swapped in and out depending on the system. So as you guys know, I am an esthetician that doesn't really believe in being married to one brand. I think that as we get better and better as artists, and the more you learn the science and understand what's going on, because I feel like when we get married to a line, we're really looking at it at face value. Whereas when we really truly understand the science, we can look at the ingredients and decide what's best for our clients and make our decisions that way, so that we can, if we run into an issue or someone who's like, I've never really done a good job with lamination, or it's never really worked for me, it doesn't last long, or whatever the problem may be, or this spot never takes, or whatever it is, if they have like a really bad kink or curl, or anything that you may run into, it's good to know the science. And it's very important too, because then you can know the things like pulling, if you were to run into an allergy like I was just talking about, it's nice to know that you could plug and play a different product from a different line. And I do think that it gives the artist the power again, because I think that when we get very reliant on just what the brand is saying and just what they have to offer, and if they come out with a new product that says you have to use it in their lamination system, you're not really sure why, but you're going to just follow blindly anyways because you've use that system the whole time, I think that you give your buying power away a little bit, and you can fall into marketing pitfalls and things like that, which I'm going to talk about in the next episode. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of ways that we can lose our authority a little bit, and God forbid have a client come in and be like, why are you using that on me? Sometimes they're curious, or sometimes they're from like an area where their esthetician was very clear and told them everything that was going on, and they were just curious to know your process too. Maybe you're not as forthcoming as her previous artist, and she was just like, oh, I'm just gonna ask these questions because I'm curious. There's nothing wrong with that. If they want to know, they can know, and it's really your due diligence that needs to be, taking action to know how to answer those questions. I kind of dabbled in the science a little bit, but really truly understanding what are we doing when these products are being applied. I talked about step 1 being high in alkalinity, and we need to know that in order for it to remove those bonds that are on the inner structures of the hair, it has a long way to travel. It has to, get through that outer cuticle and wriggle its way in. We can do this and help its way by removing oils and dirt and any buildup on the hairs or skin by doing a good cleanse beforehand. I personally don't think exfoliation is necessary in any way, shape, or form before the lamination. I do believe in only using either gloved fingers or a 4x4 to do the cleansing. I think we got to be really nice and gentle and let the foaming cleansers or whatever cleanser you're using do the degreasing portion instead of like physically trying to get it off. And we have to remember that when we understand that it has a long way to travel, what does that mean? It means that it may take a little more time. So maybe the brows weren't as like crispy, crunchy clean as we wanted. I don't know how else to say that. But if they're not as squeaky clean as we were hoping for, maybe that means that they're going to take a little bit longer this time. Maybe they were wearing an extra brow gel that you couldn't really see on the cotton that as you were cleaning in. It left a barrier. This doesn't mean that your lamination didn't work. It just means there was something in the way. So instead of panicking, thinking your solutions are bad or something's wrong with what you've done or how you applied it, we can use our critical thinking to be like, I wonder if there was something else in the way that day, or an oil. Did I get my barrier cream on the brows that hindered it, and maybe it just needed an extra minute or two to process. We get very nervous about over processing, and I think a lot of the times we're seeing issues with under processing. Of course, if you're new to lamination, I would rather you under process, because we can always have our client come back again and get it done again, but we can't do that if we fry their hairs off their face. And I guarantee you, your client will come back to you if you're like, I'm so sorry, I'm not sure why they didn't lift well, let's try it again, rather than being like, oh fuck, I'm so sorry I burned your brow hairs off. Here's a coupon, or here's a refund. I hope you come back in the future, because I'm sorry, but they're probably not going to. So let's just keep that in mind, that, if we're in an unsure territory and we're not really sure what's going on, maybe it's better to just call it, remove the solution, be like, wait, maybe we'll get a better lift next time. I apologize for this, blah, 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 give them a discount or whatever you may be the situation, is so much better than, just letting it cook and cook and cook. And I think that if we're paying attention to our laminations, we can tell that things are laying nice and flat. And like right the second you get to that point, remove the product. Like, there's no reason to leave it on any longer. And if you remove the product and it lift a little bit off the skin, that's okay. I'm so sick of everybody thinking that they have to lay literally slicked to the skin. That's not, it's never going to happen in a perfect world. The hair comes out of the skin and then lays this way. We can get it to lay sideways, but we can't, to an extent, there's going to be a little bit of lift off. And personally, I feel like that looks more natural. We want style ability. We want flexibility within our hairs. We want them to follow suit with what we want. We don't need them to literally be the same flatness as our skin. You know what I mean? They can look like hairs that are on our face because they are. So I think we should also remember that. Getting into the ideal candidate. Now, I feel like this is pretty broad with lamination, which is super cool. I don't feel like I run into too many people that can't get laminated. I definitely think that results can be underwhelming and maybe overwhelming. If you've got a shitload of brow hair that lifts really naturally, it can look full as fuck. So, I'm sorry, excuse my French, getting fired up. But it can look super full, it can look underwhelming. So I think being an ideal candidate, it's more about client expectations, understanding truly doing a thorough consultation, maybe applying a brow soap or a pomade or something so that you can show a little bit. I do think that no brow soap ever looks like lamination. That's obviously gonna be true because we're making a chemical change. Like if they look the same, lamination wouldn't exist, let's be honest. So giving them a little bit of a taste of what it could look like and making sure to let them know that it will look more dramatic than what we're showing, in the sense that it'll cooperate better. I think if we just really talk it through with their client, make sure that they're really understanding what we're saying, we're asking lots of questions, getting down to what they're looking for, and if this is the right service for them, we can really nail the expectations. I feel like I've never really had anyone be like, and sometimes they're overwhelmed, like, oh wow, it really did lift. Like they really didn't believe that it was going to lift as much as I said it would. Or they're like, holy crap, how was that my brows? I've never really had anyone be like, wow, that looks nothing like what you showed me when you did the, like, styling. So I feel like it's really just about taking the time to, like, sit there. And I don't want to say handhold, but, like, guide your client to the expectations that are realistic for them. So if they've got really, really thin, sparse brows and maybe there's a gap or a hole that's going to be just as noticeable, if not more noticeable with lamination, that's not a good candidate. If you have somebody who wants more control in their brows and styling, if they want to have a fluff, or maybe one side of their brow angles a little bit more in the front and the other one stands up really straight and they want both of them to stand up straight or angle over, whatever. We just want, this is essentially giving your clients the power to style them however they want. Like, with our hair, giving them the tools like a curling iron to curl their hair and so that they can wake up and style them however they want. So ideally, you want to just let your clients know that this is giving them the power to style them however they want. I always say it's how we wish brow gel did work. And lasted all day and didn't leave dandruffy flakes and all the not so fun stuff. I will say there's lots of products and makeup that can be used in tow with lamination that looks really good, like a fiber gel, or something like that. And then also on the flip side, there's other treatments that you may have gotten done previously that just complement the lamination, like microblading. Healed microblading and lamination look really good together. Obviously, tints and lamination look really wonderful together, etc. Aftercare. Now, I personally think you should do your own research as an artist, unless you choose to just purchase aftercare and use that for your clients. I agree with that. We have a whole sponsor that sponsors this post, Ralph Fox Beauty, who has a wonderful product called Nourish that you can use. And if you don't want to worry about it, that is your route. But make sure you're giving your clients aftercare. Whether you're making it yourself or you're buying it, build it into your price point for your laminations offer, and make sure your clients have aftercare and make sure they understand how to use their aftercare and understand why they're using it. I get into aftercare a little bit and I'll do more in the future, but I just wanted to touch on that a little bit, that it's very, very important that our clients are getting the aftercare and we're giving them proper instructions and not just sending them home with something and being like, yeah, go ahead and use it. No, we really need to get descriptive and be thorough with our recommendations so that our clients are getting the best results, because we can do what we can do in this treatment room, but if they don't follow the aftercare, we're totally screwed. So, and that falls on us, even though, we hand it to them and we hope they do their best with it. We can only do so much. So as thorough as we can be, just is gonna set your client up for success. My manual, I have a brow lamination manual. It's kick-ass, I will say. It's 25 pages of non-branded scientific education on lamination. So that is available on my website. You could find it through Instagram too. However you found me at the the.eyebrow.goddess on Instagram, theeyebrowgoddess.com. But that guy is wonderful. So if any of this is sounding like you're like, wow, I really do need to know more, check out that. It'll give you all of the details. Brands that I like to use. I do cover this a little bit in the manual as well, but my two brands that I use in treatment are Inlay and Brow Down. So those are what I love to use. I grab one or the other for, whatever reason it may be. Clients are different, situations are different, but I also like to have um an option. I like to have multiple, and I also like to have backups. So I also have like my lamination on deck. So I just am a firm believer in not locking yourself down with just one line. I think there's definitely benefits to every line, and I think that some lines definitely treat you better as far as customer service goes and things like that. But you really got to figure out what works best for you. I also feel like I'm not an esthetician or brow expert that would recommend purchasing a shitload of lines at first. I think you should really truly pick one and stick with it until you're really confident, and then you can kind of start stepping out and trying other ones. Also, truly understanding the science before trying different lines, because it gets sketchy and it's kind of irresponsible if you don't really truly understand it to just grab random products. You want to understand what's in the bottle and why you would grab one over the other. So using our products responsibly and just making us a better artist by understanding that. And also just not wasting your time. If you don't know what you're doing and you're really just trying to perfect your craft, then why not use one line, really get good at it, and then start stepping out into other lines. For instance, I started with Tuya. I used it religiously for, I want to say, like the first 2 years that I offered lamination. And then I felt like I got a really good handle on it, but I saw some issues with it and I didn't love it. So that's when I started looking elsewhere. Namely, it's a gel based. I think it's really high in alkalinity, maybe. I don't know its exact pH value, but I haven't used it in a very long time. But it's a gel base, and I feel like it's very aggressive and harsh on the skin. So I just saw a lot of redness, and I would really ideally like my clients to leave the studio without red brows. So I jumped around a little bit, ultimately found Inlay, really love Inlay, and then I found Brow Down, and it's even more gentle and kind on the skin. So I'm always trying to make sure that my system is offering excellent results, excellent care for the hair and the skin under the brows, brow hair and skin. And then, is backed by science that has good understanding of what they put in their products, meaning that their information online or what they have for their artists is thorough. And making sure that they have a really great hydrator, and potentially other additives. Like I mentioned, my lamination has that vitamin treatment, so that drew me to them. I love the fact that they're going that extra mile to have that extra product. So speaking of the extra product, let's talk about brow lamination maintenance. I know this is something that not everybody offers. I personally love it because I feel like it keeps me kind of able to check in on how the brows are doing. Seeing them every 4 weeks is always better than seeing them every 8. I love to know that everything's being well taken care of. And what this service entails is a cleanse, of course, of the area, a shaping, and tinting is optional, although I will say that probably 90% of my clients that utilize the brow lamination maintenance treatment also get tinted, which is another great point of using it because it falls on that every 4 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks, which is kind of how most people like to get their tints done. And then a shaping and a vitamin treatment. So the vitamin treatment is dependent on whether they get tinted or not. I'll use one or the other. One is just a nourishment mask specifically designed for the brows that doesn't require a chemical change. The second is the vitamin mask or treatment that does require a chemical change, so that pairs better with tinting because we're open those cuticles up. So my must-haves. Okay, it sounds so silly, but dead ass silicone brushes. Silicone spatulas are the only way I will laminate. I could probably do with literally I could MacGyver my way through a lamination as long as I have a silicone spatula. I know that people recommend the doe foot wand applicators, and I know that people love their interdental brushes or micro spoolies or whatever. I could do without both of those. I do. I don't use them in my studio. I don't use them for lamination. And I think that what's really changed the game for my laminations was the silicone spatulas. I found them through Beyonce first, and now I buy them on Amazon because I like to have a big bulk pack of them. I give them to my lamination students, and I just feel like they're a necessity. Like, I can't live without them. Let's discuss. So, knowing the science is super important if you're offering lamination. I think if you're offering a chemical treatment that has, all these steps to it and we're creating damage and then, repairing it, I think it's really important to understand that. I have like 4 recommendations that I really recommend to get the best to get the best efficacy and results. And one is using enough solution. I think that's one of the big issues that we're not seeing is you guys are not using enough solution or are scared to go through your product too quickly, which I fully understand, but results are more important than, we can keep our overhead low, but we need to get the results in order to get the clients in the door, which are our income. The further that solution needs to travel, the more you need to use. So as somebody with coarse hair, it has further to travel. You might need to use a little more product. Also remembering whether you need to use a saran wrap or a cover or not, because the lines are different and some require it and some don't. Proper timing. I think this is also very important. I think that we need to pay more attention to the hairs so that we can really truly tell as they start to change. And I think the more you do, the more you'll notice the difference between a natural hair and a laminated hair. Be patient. Enough time in your services to really work the brow and pay attention, be gentle on the skin and not rush through any step or stage. And then evenly coat the hairs. I think all I see is a lot of brushing, which actually removes solution and ends up on the spoolie. I'm sure you've noticed as you brush through the hairs, that solution needs to remain in the hairs and it needs to be pressed back in. So actually pressing that solution on the hairs is going to be more effective to thoroughly coat it. Depending on the density, of course, maybe you want to brush through to make sure every layer has a good amount. But really, once you do an initial brush or style, I think pressing is more effective and really works the solution in there and it helps to lay the hairs very, very flat. Those are my top 3. Also, I said this before, I'll say it again. I will choose some lifted hairs over perfectly flat for the sake of skin and hair health any day. So quote me on that one. I was gonna talk about my failures and how I fixed them with that, and I think I'm gonna save that just for a different episode. I think we'll just talk brow failures. So, coming soon, we'll troubleshoot some issues that I've run into and how I've solved them. So, you'll have to be a regular follower. plug. This treatment takes time to learn, and I think the number one recommendation I have is to be patient and allow yourself to be a novice, learn, and seek out professionals who have more time and experience under their belt and be a sponge. Soak up all of the knowledge. I know there's plenty of I took so many courses. Some were awesome, some were useless, but I learned and took away something from every single one of them. So no matter how many trainings you do, it's always great to continue your education and keep learning. It's very, very important. And just making sure that you are acutely aware of this client's skin and hair health and that they are acutely aware of how to take care of their brows post-treatment with proper aftercare that you are providing them. I am so thankful that you are here. I can't thank you enough for listening. I do have some events coming up that I wanted to share with you. I will be down in Slow at the Sweet Spot with Emily of the Brow Fox. We're going to be teaching you brow lamination. So if you are itching for an in-person training, this is going to be a really cool experience. You're going to have 2 instructors. We're going to have live demos and models. My lamination manual is included, and we will be focusing on using Brow Down's product, but giving you a plethora of education and knowledge. You guys can ask all of the questions, pick our brains, and you will walk away with a certificate and confidence in your lamination skills. So that is April 7th, an all-day training, brow lamination training. I believe kits will be optional, but I do want to throw together little goodie bags for you guys, must-haves, and limited spots, but they will be available. I'm going to add a little link in the show notes that is going to allow you to sign up and show your interest. If we get lots of interest, we'll probably do another event down the road. We're super duper excited, and we can't wait to see you guys there. This episode was really all about lamination, so it makes sense to finish it with a little lamination training plug. I also offer online training, so if you're not local but you still want to learn virtually, that is an option. You can find more information on my website. I also offer coaching calls, so if you want to pick my brain about something specific, we can do that as well via Zoom, or FaceTime, whatever is more convenient. All that information is on my website, theeyebrowgoddess.com. You can find the podcast there too. Listen on Spotify. Video of the podcast and episodes are on YouTube, also at the.eyebrow.goddess. And you can find us on Instagram at browducation and at the.eyebrow.goddess. All this information is also going to be in the show notes. Follow us for updates, episode drops, all that jazz. Thank you for being here. I will see you next week, and bye.
Hey, it's Emily here from Brow Fox Beauty. I'm so proud to be sponsoring this episode of Browducation. If you are new here, let me tell you a little bit about Brow Fox Beauty. We are a professional brow line for the esthetician. We specialize in easy retail for the busy esthetician. We also have a line of better back bar basics, so you can be super confident putting pre and post wax solution and massage oil onto your client's skin, giving them the best glow and the best brows yet. You can find more information at browfoxbeauty.com or on social media at browfoxbeauty.